This is a sixth episode and we don't have a theme song, so I'm singing this silly tune. Oh yeah!
Hello, dear viewer slash listener slash however you may be consuming this. You're tuning in live. No, you're not. I just really wanted to say that. But you are tuning in to the Minsk and Friends Speakeasy. My name is Minsk.
Hey, it's Joonatan.
And we are glad to come here for episode 6, I believe we are up to by now.
We are so professional, we don't even know what show it is.
Well, when you do a show this long, it just all blends in.
Yes, we've been doing it for years.
Yes, veterans of the business.
Yeah.
We're coming to you together at last. A little behind-the-scenes trivia. We've had to workshop this from afar for so far, but things are finally picking up again, so we've been able to meet up here in person to entertain you guys with our latest in video game stuff. So, before we jump into the main topic of the day, I thought it would only be fair, since we have talked about, it's been summer, there's been plenty of previews of, especially the upcoming consoles. So we've talked about the PlayStation and their show, and we've given Nintendo some time, but Microsoft had their big Xbox Series X game showcase in July, and I thought it's only fair if we give our feelings a little bit about that. Although, maybe Microsoft might not like the feelings we might have to toss. I don't know about you. Did you like the games that they presented to us?
Well, gee golly, I am excited about Halo.
Oh, dear.
No.
Yeah.
No, I am. I'm still excited about the Xbox. I have the Series X pre-ordered. I've got the PlayStation pre-order as well.
Right.
But I like what they are doing in terms of consumer practices.
Yes, like as I'll say, as a primarily PC player, I'm also pretty jazzed since basically everything is coming to the PC as well. So,
right, and the Xbox Game Pass, for what it's worth, for its money, is the best deal in gaming right now.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a very interesting time seeing what they're going to release, because they have no exclusives this year.
And I'm like a little unclear with unfortunately Halo Infinite being delayed. I'm a little unclear what exactly are they releasing as a launch title.
They have a bunch of games that are coming out, but I don't think they have anything that would say you need to buy an Xbox right now. Because all the games that I did look at that they're like, oh, this is exciting, are coming to PC as well, and they're very good consumer practices are the ones that are also hurting their console.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about a bunch of games that are coming out there. I think it's going to be fun to play them, and I will certainly be there to review them. But goodness, without Halo, it's going to be a tough sell for them this year.
I guess so. We like episode or two ago, we were speculating about Japanese Xbox being branded a Sega thing.
Right, yeah.
I almost feel like they should gamble on just globally branding it a Sega thing, just to like kind of maybe hope the novelty would help with the sales. I mean, I might almost jump on that, just if it was called Dreamcast 2 all of a sudden.
Right, or Dreamcast X.
Exactly, something like that.
Yeah, it's also because their naming the Series X is... Their previous one was called the Xbox X. This is like on a level of Wii to Wii U. It's gonna not be great for adults. Like, there's gonna be a lot of people going and buying a Xbox X, which is why I think Microsoft stopped officially selling them, or like at least manufacturing them.
That makes sense. Yeah, I didn't even think about that angle. But again, I'm too deep in on the this, so I'm aware of the differences, but absolutely that like regular consumer.
Right, because I still have to work with regular consumers, and they're still calling about having the Wii and being really confused about there being even a Switch.
I see. Right.
So you never underestimate the general consumer.
Fair enough. But yes, for what it's worth, the actual games themselves, good stuff, and I really appreciate that. I think Halo looks really fun if they're like upgrading the formula to some kind of more semi-open world thing.
Right. I was really confused about why people are so up in arms by, it doesn't look that great. Like, it looks perfectly fine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it looks like it could have ran on the current generation that's ending at the moment. But, like, I think that still looks fine, personally.
I personally will take lesser graphics if it means that it runs well and it runs with 4-player split screen, which is right now what they're saying. It will at least run on at least 2-player split screen.
Right.
And I think people are putting too much emphasis on this whole 4K thing and like believing that the PlayStation will run in 8K is nonsense. because
so.
like both of us have pretty expensive gaming rigs on the PC.
Yeah.
We're not playing anything on 4K or at least 4K 60 FPS.
No, definitely not. So that's a bit of a pipe dream. I guess running on a television might change it. You know,
I mean, you can the games that right now run on the PlayStation, the PlayStation 4 Pro. You get some games that run in 4K, and they'll run at like 30 FPS.
Right. So
which is the minimum, the bare minimum, and they run with reduced graphics, reduced everything.
Right. Exactly.
Even with the PS5 coming in and being a reasonably powerful thing, it's about on the level of the computers that we have,
right?
Which are about €1,200 systems.
Yes.
And that means that it will run 2K gaming at 60 FPS with all the nice perks and whistles.
The bells and whistles.
Yeah. 8K, 4K at 60 FPS, you'll get it on the minimum graphics. So everybody having this whole, the resolution's bigger, are not thinking of the big picture.
Yeah, that's, I mean, you know, screens are plenty big enough as a Luddite, I'd say.
Well, yes, exactly. And as long as who cares what your render resolution is compared to others if the game itself isn't fun. And Halo looked like a lot of fun.
Exactly.
So I'm more than happy. I'm going to still play it on my PC in 1080p because that's when I get the maximum out of the graphics versus the frames per second. Quite
so. And, so I'm generally still hopeful. I don't actually mind that much that it's delayed. It's just bad for Microsoft themselves, really. Like, I don't mind it if it's delayed a little bit. I'm happy waiting for whenever it comes out, if it's nicely polished up by then.
Did you hear that Phil Spencer had originally talked about that they wanted to initially release it in episodic format, so they would make it to this year's release date?
I see. I did not hear about that. I
don't think that's ever been like a serious consideration, but he did mention it in one of the interviews that he had considered it, that it was something, but then they decided to go with a full release.
I think that's the safer bet.
It is, because then they would have had to call it Halo Finite, and that's not as...
That just isn't catchy. No. It sounds sad.
Yep.
And then Halo Finite-er.
Yes.
We're getting to the end.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw how well the episodic releases worked for Half-Life.
Oh yeah, still waiting on that.
Yeah.
Any day now, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, our wide audience, you know, if there's anybody from Valve listening, we're still waiting.
Yeah, come on, Gabe.
Yeah.
Come on. You could get on it by now, surely.
It's only been 18 years.
Oh my god, you're not even that off, I don't think.
No, I think that it's been about like 12, 13 years.
Yeah, so. But anyway, yeah, but overall I'm hopeful. It's, another critique was, of course, that they didn't show very much gameplay in any of those games. A lot of them were kind of like proof of concepts, like we're working on this, but, they looked like fun concepts.
Fable. Yeah. I'm all about Fable.
And I'm all about that Soviet punk. I don't know if that's a genre. So Stalker 2 getting some kind of like we're still working on it is very pleasing to me.
Yeah, and there's that one game that looked a lot like Lord of the Rings, which was the first-person hardcore RPG set in kind of a Middle-earthy set.
Was it the one by Obsidian?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because they were like, well, we made our own Fallout with Outer Worlds, now we're gonna make our own Elder Scrolls, was basically what that was.
Right. It just visually, it looked like it owed a lot to Peter Jackson's vision of stuff.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I remember that.
But I'm totally in for it. Like, anything from Obsidian, I'm in for it, and anything that is high fantasy, I'm totally in for it.
Definitely worth a look, I'd say.
But I mean, even they said that it's like still 3-4 years off, so it's kind of like, it's pointless announcing it now, because it's not going to be the same game by the time they actually release it.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Square Enix by now. You'd think someone would learn from watching how they've gone over the years, how well that's worked out for them.
Exactly, and seeing how as many game companies are announcing, like Google announced that their employees are not coming back from quarantine or from working remotely until like next summer.
Right.
So most of these games will be delayed. I would be shocked if they were like on schedule.
I guess we should mention, by the way, because I think last episode we talked about Baldur's Gate 3's surprise...
which got delayed.
Surprise early release. Nope. Sorry.
No. Larian actually announced today, about an hour ago, that they will be announcing the new release date, I think today or tomorrow.
Okay, well, let's hope for the best.
Yeah, let's hope for it, but it's also good that it's being delayed because there are other big RPGs coming out, and I still have my bet going that I think Cyberpunk is going to be delayed again.
I can totally see that.
They're working from home. Poland just got hit with another wave of corona.
Oh gosh.
It's just, I don't think that game is ready yet. It's not going to be ready for September.
Yeah, September is right around the corner, so...
Yeah, so I'm thinking it'll go to November and be a launch title for the consoles.
That would be fine too.
Yeah.
Fine. But of course it stinks for anyone who is like already jonesing. I know some people who are really, really waiting for that. So.
Yeah, if people are jonesing for it, they can go play something else. It's not like there's a lack of games out right now.
Certainly not. We're lucky in that front at least.
Yeah.
We're riding a certain wave at the moment. In fact, I guess we could move on into a game which has come out, which will be the topic of today. Actually, this already came out a year ago, but since the PC port dropped here in early August, we thought we'd talk about it today. Hideo Kojima's latest work, Death Stranding. An interesting property for sure. I guess, should we begin with a little word about the man himself, just to set where each of us are coming from? How do you feel about Hideo Kojima?
I think if Hideo Kojima liked his voice anymore, he would just sit in a room and sang to himself all day instead of making games.
Oh dear, yes, I guess so. I guess the common complaint is that, or the common critique is that Hideo Kojima works on video games because he's not good enough to make movies. He wants to make movies, but he can't quite stick that.
Here's the thing. I think he's a talented director, and I think he could make really good movies.
Okay.
He's a very visual filmmaker, and you can see that in some of the best parts that he does in his things. Like, I don't think Metal Gear Solid would have been as big of a thing it was if it hadn't been well directed.
Yes, fair enough.
I think he's a horrible writer and should not be allowed near a typewriter or a laptop or even a pen.
Yeah, I do believe that Metal Gear Solid 2, which gets praised a lot for its kind of visionary writing, that wasn't Kojima's work, and I don't think that guy works at Konami or Kojima Productions anymore. Like the guy who did the bulk of the kind of backstory and the kind of the concepts being bandied about, the kind of social commentary.
Yeah, I think already part 2 started getting too convoluted for my tastes, but it did have a lot of good stuff in it. By, for example, introducing Raiden, which I get angered a lot of people because everybody was expecting that they're going to play a snake and all that, and then it was not him. But I think Metal Gear Solid, in terms of what it was, how compact it was, and all that because of its limitations, is the best thing Kojima has done.
Right.
It's the one that is, every time it seems to go off the rails and get self-centered and all that, it just reels itself back in, and it's really exciting, and it's really well made. All the characters are great.
Right.
And I think that one has absolutely the best stuff that Kojima has done. But having said that, Death Stranding is a good second.
Okay, so this is you'd put this up almost next to that.
Yeah, this is completely the opposite of Metal Gear Solid in that it's all over the place. It's way too long.
Okay,
it's really self-satisfied and really smug, and it's Kojima at his worst. But it's also him at his best because of the mechanics and because of how the world works.
Right. I guess I should also state at this point, yes, as you said, the game is very, very long, so unfortunately I'm not able to give a full review. I can give my basically impressions on the first 20 hours, I think, is what I've put into it.
So
you're estimating like 60 hours is maybe.
I would say you have about a solid 4,000 hours to go.
Okay, cool.
I
better get cracking. But anyway, Jonathan has beaten the game, so you can give like a more robust review.
Right.
I can give the basics, but of course I can't promise about how it sticks to landing towards the ending in my review.
Right. I'm also cheating because I played this on the PlayStation last year already.
Right.
So I have had a year to marinate on this, and then I played it again on the PC.
Right, exactly. And so this will also be a bit of a what's the PC version like for those of you who maybe have already played this game. But I know this did attract quite a big new audience, I think, when it came on the PC. As far as I read, that there was like a lot of new people jumping on this bandwagon.
Right, but where are you coming from with Kojima?
Yeah, I guess I mainly consume Metal Gear Solid from him, and I like all of them basically. I get the indulgent thing. I totally get that. There's a well, you know, his cutscenes will sometimes run on and run on and run on. It's I remember Metal Gear Solid 2 towards the end. I was like, oh geez, I should be going to bed soon, but these guys are still talking.
When Guns of the Patriots, which I think is the fourth game,
yes,
when that came out, we were playing it with my roommate at the time, and we started playing it around 11 a.m. And we had to go to the movies at 7 p.m. And we figured we'll do the first couple of missions, and we'll save, and then we'll go to the movie. We should have plenty of time. At 5:45 p.m., we were still in the opening cutscenes because the game itself had allowed us only to play a few short times, and then it was installing because there was long periods where it would start installing and giving you backstory while it was installing so that it could go to another cutscene because the PlayStation could not handle the amount of data that the cutscenes took.
Well, that was unfortunately, that was partly also a problem of the PS3, like back then, that install times were really bad. And I think development for early PS3 in general was really tough for a lot of people, like a lot of companies. So
it's true, but they were also 90-minute cutscenes.
There's also that, like, you can't exactly entirely wash him of blame here, Mr. Kojima. But I guess the thing is, I guess the difference between you and me is that I really like a certain flavor of stupid. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of like just crazy shit for its own sake in Metal Gear Solid that I think is charming, especially when it'll flip on a dime from like a really serious military drama kind of suspense thriller thing to like I don't know. There's like a Russian guard peeing on Raiden from the top of a building, and you call your guys, and they're just like, "Oh, Raiden, why are you doing this? Get out from under that man!" And it's like, "What? Okay, cool."
Yeah, I think that is my biggest problem with them, is that because it tries so hard to be so serious, and then you have, within minutes, you have a giant Russian general groping Raiden.
Oh yes,
and just these weird asides about transgender jokes and.
Well, yeah, that is actually I don't really some of Kojima's takes on like women and minorities are not.
They're not the most progressive stuff, which is funny considering how he really tries to present himself as a progressive thinker.
Yeah, and well, this is coming from a straight man, but I do think he does have like good female characters.
Some of them.
I like the boss. I like Meryl, which is a weird thing, by the way. Did you know that Meryl is from a completely different video game?
Is she?
Yes, Kojima's earlier work, Police Knots, has a character called Meryl in it, who just is Meryl. And her backstory is that she fought in Outer Heaven in that game. And then for some reason he just took the character and like made her a little younger and to be the Colonel's niece and put her in Metal Gear Solid. It's like, what?
That I do remember. I remember the fact that it was always very creepy to me that Meryl was supposed to be the love interest, but in the, I think the liner notes or in the like the guidebooks, she's like 16 to 18 or something like that, and there's like
20 years difference between.
Yeah, Snake is in his almost 50s, and he's just like growling, and you can peek her in her underwear, and all the typical hentai stuff that he likes to put in there.
Yes. I believe also back to Police Knots, he had like some stipulation where you had to be able to grope like every female character in the game or something like that. It's like, why are you doing this?
It doesn't surprise me in the least either. He just comes off as a really weird guy who happens to also be, I guess, something of a genius when it comes to making these things.
Yeah, I guess moving on to Death Stranding, like, I have to say that I think this game would not have been made, or it would not have been, like, this big if it had not had Kojima's name attached to it.
Oh no, anybody else releases this game and they would have been buried for creating a game like this. Kojima gets a lot of leeway from everybody.
Because conceptually, this game, like, gameplay-wise, this game is not like... No one makes a AAA game like this. This is, there are games like this, but the games I'm thinking of are those truck simulator games.
Yeah.
And, like, those are always, like, not exactly indie games, but really low-budget games, technically.
Oh yeah, they're made, like, with a team of maybe 50 people maximum. And
like Snow Runners, I think, is, like, the most polished ones. The Snow and Mud Runners, I think, are those two. Those are really polished games, but those are still, like, not AAA games.
No, they're like just on the level of indie moving to an actual production house.
Exactly. So gameplay-wise, this is, like, basically kind of, like, appeals to an indie market.
It's a walking simulator.
You could say that, sure. There's a fair bit of action in it. It's not exactly like What Remains of Edith Finch or something like that.
No, it does have elements that are certainly very action heavy, and there's a lot of combat if you choose there to be a lot of combat.
But then, so gameplay wise, yeah, it's like this kind of very simulation focused gameplay. These games, Snow Runners and these. They're just, you're a truck driver, your job is to deliver stuff. Mm-hmm. But then this one is attached with this, I don't know how to describe it, completely incomprehensible plot. Like that the weird philosophical concepts being tossed left and right. It's the strangest possible social commentary in a setting which is, well, at the same time, it's weirdly relatable in our current day and age, but also is so kind of foreign to us.
Yeah, it's like Kojima just went on Wikipedia, put the sorted by philosophy as a category, and just started hitting random until he had what he wanted. It's like a trolley dash, just grabbing what he could and going with it. That's the story he writes then with it. And in a weird way, it works because it's so audacious. But I couldn't say that I got anything out of the plot. Like, I have completed the game.
Right.
And I couldn't make heads or tails about what happens in it.
Yeah, I'm a little in the dark. So I'm in chapter 3, really deep into that, which is kind of like it feels like that's like when the game really opens up. Chapter 3 is when you really do stuff. It's after you've crossed the lake. And,
that's when it starts opening up, and then it opens up even further after that. And then it twists on itself in a weird way without spoiling anything. That is pure Kojima, and I do think that if anybody else again had done that, they would have been absolutely gutted by the critics.
Well, no one would pick this game up, I don't think. If I tried to sell a game that is it's a kind of a non-combat game to some extent, but not really like a stealth game either, because there just isn't that many encounters with enemies.
Right.
It's just a game about simulating, like, traversal and carrying stuff, combined with this navel-gazing social commentary / life and death philosophy thing, like
/ Monster Energy drink advertisement.
Yes, and Norman Reedus's ride on ABC, I think, is the ad that plays. What the fuck? Anyway, I don't know what publisher would be like, oh yeah, that sounds like a winning concept.
Right, here's how much did this game cost? Was it $180 million?
A lot of dollars.
Yeah, and it had about 1,000 people working on it. It took years to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody would go that unless you said you have Hideo Kojima. Right?
Yeah, that opens up the faucets, I guess.
Yeah. When it came out, I made the joke on Twitter. There was the whole meme going around, remember this kid? This is him now. Then I took Norman Reedus as this is him now, and I put the other one was the paper boy from NES.
Oh.
and I was only half joking because this is essentially the Paperboy game.
Right, indeed.
Because all you do is you go to a place, you get a route, and you get all the stuff, and you have to take them to that place. The basic game mechanic is really get there, don't fall, don't break the stuff. And you get graded on how fast and how well you deliver things. It's exactly the gameplay of Paperboy.
Also, Yoshi's Island, because
Yes.
you have to carry a whining baby with you.
Yes, because the
game.
baby every once in a while just starts screaming at you for no reason, like the babies usually do.
But sometimes the baby will also laugh at you, and you will get likes for it. Because,
Because that makes sense.
because babies give you likes on social media, I guess.
Yeah. And then Guillermo del Toro calls you and tells you stuff about how the baby's functions work.
Yes, which is, again, by the way, so strange.
Yes, there's also lots of celebrity cameos from, like, Nicholas Winding Refn, Conan O'Brien.
Yeah, I haven't ran into him yet, but I heard that he's in it, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, and they're there simply because Kojima wanted them to be there, and it's the kind of indulgence that at the same time, I can't help but love, even as I hate them deeply.
Yeah, like it's kind of silly, but I really like Guillermo del Toro, so like if I was working on something and I could like call him up like, hey, Mr. Del Toro, you want to like have a cameo in my work? And he'd be like, sure, I will do it. I would be like, yes!
Right, and it's not even a cameo, he's like one of the main characters.
Well, the weird thing is he's not voiced by Guillermo del Toro, he just gives his likeness to this character.
Yeah, which is also really weird.
Yeah, I'm not super surprised. I don't think he has the time to come record so many lines of dialogue.
Yeah, he has film projects that he will never make to, sit around with.
I guess that's why him and Kojima are such good buddies. They both are a little indulgent. I say this as, like I said, I love Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, no, he's one of my favorite filmmakers. I will see anything he does. I think he's only disappointed me once.
Oh, which one was that?
It was the Haunted Mansion thing, Crimson Peak.
Ooh, I never saw that, right.
I did not get into that.
Okay.
It's beautiful, but it's not interesting.
Okay.
But then he came back with Shape of Water, and he's completely, that's one of my favorite films of the last decade. So.
Right, yeah. Yeah, but he's also got a little problem. He promises a lot of things, I think, is the problem.
Well, the studios keep messing with him. It's the same as with Kojima, so I think they have a mutual feeling with that.
I can see that,
because he spent years of his life in New Zealand getting The Hobbit ready. And then, at the last minute, months before they were supposed to shoot, the studio was screwed, and it screwed him and took it away from him. And that the same thing happened with At the Mountain of Madness, when she was supposed to make the Lovecraft film.
Right, yeah.
He had Tom Cruise ready to go, he had everybody there, and then the studio just said, oh no, we're not going to make it.
Aww.
And that's the same thing happened with Hellboy. He just gets kicked around, despite that every time he makes a movie, it's a critical and somewhat of a commercial success.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing also. Unlike Kojima, his films have only a niche audience.
I mean, it's a passionate one for sure, but I guess for the studios, that's not good enough.
No, with Kojima at least, because Death Stranding made its money back.
Yeah, this did really well.
Yeah, which for a game like this is surprising.
Honestly, yeah. Although I do know that there was a lot of pushback when this game came out, just because it was kept so under wraps exactly what it was going to be.
Right.
I think a lot of people were like, well, it's just going to be Metal Gear with all the names changed. But it's
as far from Metal Gear as you could probably make it.
In fact, I would go and say that the stealth in this game is the worst thing about this game. So,
yeah, the stealth stuff sucks.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
We'll get to that in a second. But I guess we'll cover the premise of this game. So you are Norman Reedus of Boondock Saints and Walking Dead fame. Mm-hmm. You are a porter, as in the guy who delivers stuff, in a post-apocalyptic America.
Where rain ages everything.
And there are ghosts everywhere. And you...
the ghosts are called the Stranding, or something like that.
They're called BTs.
Oh, BTs, the beach things.
Oh, is that what I'm not even sure what it stands for.
Yeah, apparently it's beach things. And
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's because stranding also refers to a stranded whale, I guess. So they're beached, they're stranded, these ghosts.
Right.
And something horrible happens when they grab you. I've had it happen to me once, and I was like, Jesus Christ! It was the worst thing, in a long while to happen to me in a video game.
And death is frowned upon because when you die, your body explodes, causing a massive-ass crater, which then...
creates more ghosts.
More ghosts and more of that rain.
Yeah.
So you essentially have to travel very carefully, and if rain happens, and I think it's called timefall.
Yes.
Because, of course, haha, it ages you. And then you have to deliver packages, hoping that you don't get caught in the rain, hoping that you can create a society again by connecting places, by delivering packages. It's essentially Kevin Costner's The Postman.
Yes, yeah, actually.
It makes about as much sense as that movie.
Which one, by the way? Postman or Waterworld? Which one would you pick?
Postman. I mean, this is more Postman than Waterworld.
No, I mean, I'm sorry. If you wanted to have to watch one movie, which one?
I like them both. I would probably pick Waterworld, the normal theatrical cut, but then if given the choice, I would pick Postman's extended cut because it's more operatic.
Never seen that. I've only seen regular. And yes, I would also go with Waterworld because
Waterworld is more fun.
It's so funny. It's so good. Who's the bad guy?
Dennis Hopper.
Yes, he's so fantastic.
Yeah, it's dumb as a bag of bricks, but it's really funny and really great.
And speaking of other dumbest bag of bricks, well, it's not that dumb, this game, I'm being mean.
No, it's not dumb, it's incomprehensible.
Yeah, because, you might be scratching, if you haven't heard the plot of the game before, you might be scratching your head wait, what, does any of that make sense? There's time rain and ghosts and...
And there's competing delivery people.
Yes.
Who are or are not your friends or enemies. It's very unclear. And then there is... a baby that allows you to see flashbacks.
And also sense the ghosts better.
Yes, and you have to carry the baby in a glass jar that is filled with liquid so the baby can survive. Because that baby is your connection to death?
Well, the baby is born from a stillborn mother, I believe. Sorry, the mother is in a vegetative state, so half dead, and that's why the baby has a connection to the other side?
Yeah. So again... Your guess is as good as mine, or ours. If you know what this game is about, please, I don't know, send
leave
help.
A comment.
Yes, because we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would love a elucidation on what the hell is going on.
See, because I tried before we started this, I went to Wikipedia to read the plot description, and I came away even more confused.
Oh dear. Okay.
And apparently, some people are talking about how much this makes sense, and they're really angry how it's not as complicated as it should be, and I'm like. I guess?
Well, I get this to some extent because, this might bring some shade for me, but a movie I really like is Prometheus. And this game reminds me a lot of Prometheus in... Well, okay, first of all, the visuals. They both have the same kind of washed out wasteland look to them. But also, again, a plot which is actually kind of incomprehensible what exactly is going on. And I don't know, for Prometheus, I kind of like trying to, in my head, figure out, okay, why is this world like this? And why is this functioning, this goop like this? Why are these people doing this?
See, that to me is just a screenwriter not doing their job.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess it's an easy way to cover up for them.
But that's also the thing. I've noticed this in a lot of fandoms. A lot of people will happily go to forums and just create a plot that is not even remotely hinted in the story.
I guess you're right.
If they like the stuff that they've watched, and that's completely fine, as long as they also kind of accept the fact that this is all fan fiction.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's me and Prometheus because I got fairly far. There's some things I'm like, well, that doesn't really make sense in the end, but
yeah, I mean, there's things in Prometheus that don't make sense, i.e., the entire movie. But I'm not a fan of Prometheus.
I get it.
I did not enjoy that movie at all. But I think the comparison may be a little harsh for Death Stranding because Death Stranding at least has relatable characters in it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And Norman Reedus makes me laugh because it to me in my headcanon, he is running away from the rain because he's just trying to avoid having a bath. Because he just looks perpetually disheveled, and he just looks constantly greasy and grimy.
Yeah, and his acting range is basically every line is world-weary rasp. Oh my god, I'm so tired with this world.
Right, and it's like, couldn't they just have David Hayter do his voice? Because
that'd be beautiful.
Yeah. He is a very monotone and monosyllabic character.
Yeah, I never pegged him for main character potential.
No,
I think he's fine as this character, as Sam in this game, but not my first choice. I don't think.
No, and the side characters we mentioned, Del Toro, Lea Seydoux is, I think, always reliable. I'm not a fan of, again, the fact that Kojima's idea of having a complicated women character involves that woman character has had to have some kind of sexual assault and emotional abuse happen to her.
Well, this is good that you're here, because I haven't gotten to that part of the game yet. Like, I know she's had, like, trauma in her past, that I've gotten that far, but I didn't get to the specifics.
It's again your basic Kojima. It's a similar kind of thing as with Quiet from the previous Metal Gear Solid
Which
game.
I think is the worst character he's ever written.
And Lea Seydoux is like just above that.
Okay.
In the same, he does a lot of the same things again, and there's like he gets cheap titillation from the fact of seeing Lea Seydoux squirm in skimpy outfits while violence is thrust upon her.
Oh shit! Wow. Okay. Wow. I do not even.
It's one of those things that he seems to enjoy as a trope, and I don't get it. It's very juvenile in my opinion, because all the other male characters are given similarly tragic backstories, but none of them involve that kind of stuff. It's always when it comes to women in his stories. And it's one of the things that I always wondered why he keeps just leaning on that heavily.
I don't know what it is, but it's unfortunate. I do like a lot of the characters in this game. Even with someone else voicing him, Guillermo del Toro's character is really fun.
The voice actor is pretty spot on.
Yeah, it's a pretty good impression. I'm really happy with that. And yes, the characters are crazy. It's a little more muted than Metal Gear in a lot of places.
But they're called like Die Hard Man.
Yeah, I was exactly thinking there's a character called Die Hard Man, which is kind of edging in for my favorite Kojima name so far, which was the villain in Peace Walker, Hot Cold Man. But
yeah, there are moments in there when I keep thinking that Kojima has to be making this up to annoy people, or seeing how far he can get away with it, because a lot of people will like hear the names and go like, "Oh, it's brilliant! It must mean something."
Die Hardman.
Yeah, and then like I just keep thinking like that he must be somewhere laughing at this, seeing like how far are people willing to make excuses for him.
Yeah. But then there's a character like Troy Baker who plays the villain in this Higgs. He's a cartoon villain through and through, but he's so over the top that, I've only seen him in one scene where he talked and two where he just pops up like, hello.
Right, but he's just like, if there was a scenery to chew, he would be eating it.
He's so delicious, and like his introduction is like, they call me Higgs, and I'm like, well, Kojima always makes like names that like refer to something. The only thing I can think of is the Higgs boson. And then he's like, the particle that permeates reality. And I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. Not even attempting to be subtle there.
I thought it was hilarious. But that's what I mean, like, when I say that I do like Kojima. It's like, that's the kind of shit that makes me go, that's really funny.
I get that. Then also Mads Mikkelsen is pretty great, but you only see him in the flashbacks.
Yeah, at least so far, he only shows up in, like, these weird visions. Which, by the way, just people, if you want to play this on your birthday, I recommend it. Try to get one of the Mads Mikkelsen cutscenes, and you might, in fact, get a little birthday wish from Mads. Yeah. I was pretty happy.
Yeah, every Kojima game has had a birthday Easter egg there, and they've always been very funny.
At least everyone where we can set the date, I think, of your... Yeah. I think so, yeah. This one's no different. I was pretty happy.
Yeah. But one thing I did notice is that I was very surprised, happily so, that the game lets you actually start playing it pretty quickly in the beginning.
Yeah, although it is a slow burn, because, again, I think it's because this is so different from what a AAA game normally is. There is a lot of mechanics to cover, so the tutorial goes on for a very long time.
Which is kind of weird for me, because all the mechanics that they cover in the tutorial could have just been left for the player to discover, and it would have been a richer experience.
I think so. Yeah, I guess so. There's certain just to orient yourself to the fact that, okay, what I'm going to be doing in this game is carrying stuff, and that brings its own kind of things to focus on.
Right. But like I remember when I started playing it, and I got to one of the first levels where I noticed that I have to go over a hill. It's either going a long way around or then above the hill. And I started like really thinking that, what can I do to make this? And I would have just been happy to figure it out on my own. But then when the game just stops you and it's like, here, listen to this long narration.
Yeah, Die Hard Man always calls, and he always the same cadence. He's like, Sam. And then he starts rambling. I was like, oh my god, it's going to be Die Hard Man again. And he's like, Sam.
Yeah, when we have, you can use a ladder. And it's like, a ladder is a tool. And it's like, it's the kind of Kojima nonsense that is funny at times, like when somebody tries to explain to you a cardboard box.
Yeah.
But at times it's just, you want to just get on with the game. And in this case, I was wanting to get on the game because, like, by the time I started building the roads and connecting places, I didn't want to hear from the tutorials anymore. I didn't want to hear from the world. I wanted to just connect them and see what happens. Because there was a lot of... It for the first time in a long time in a Kojima game, it was rewarding to play because you got actual feedback from other players.
Yes, this actually has this kind of socials, I don't know what to call it, social system. Like, you're not playing a multiplayer in that you're not actively with another player, but you're able to influence the worlds of other players, and they're able to influence yours.
Yeah, and it's actually a great mechanic for this game because it makes the world feel alive when they mention that there's other porters. But then when you're actually going somewhere and you suddenly see a little tag that has that, hey, I left you some supplies, or I left you a rope because this place is inaccessible without one.
Yeah, I took it a habit myself to leave signs of anything pertinent wherever I go. Like, if I left a rope somewhere, I also left a sign next to it. Like, here's a rope, guys, just in case both the sign and my rope would, like, spawn into someone's game.
Right, and then you can come back, like, weeks later after you haven't played the game, and then you'll have, like, a message waiting from another player that somebody left you a like or somebody left you a thank you.
It's so weird how nice that is because it's just a like, but like I remember that when the part where you're building roads, because roads make it way easier to traverse the world when you're going back and forth. I started a project, but it needs a lot of supplies to get a road done.
Right.
And I was like, I'm never going to finish this. But then I logged in the next day and it was like, so-and-so finished the road you started. I was like, what? And then I started just getting messages like, so-and-so used the road you built. And I just started raining in, and that felt weirdly rewarding.
Right, and that was actually what made me like the game more. Like, I was able to look past all of Kojima's nonsense because it felt like, unlike many other multiplayer games, and especially unlike MMOs, which to me feel clinical and dead, even though they're filled with other players.
They're the largest multiplayer game that you want to play single player.
Yeah, and it's also, this actually makes it feel like that you're a part of something because you're leaving a physical print of yourself behind. And other MMOs, you don't. They will tell you that, oh, you raided the dungeons of whatever, and you're amazing, but then, 16 other teams have done the same thing at the same time as you. Whereas in here, when you are on the road, you know that I built this with these people, because I could not have collected all this stuff on my own.
Yeah, it's really cool collaborative, and you never see these people either, which is really crazy as well. Like,
you don't see them, but you make a connection with them, which is, I think, a really astounding achievement that Kojima has managed to make with his team. And that alone makes the game worth playing.
Yeah, although I would say the gameplay is weirdly enchanting on its own even. Like, I think this would be a fun game even without the social aspect. You'd have to balance it a little more to be able to carry more supplies to make up for the lack of player-provided supplies.
Balance.
Yeah, fair enough. Balance your big-ass backpack on your...
Right, and because for those who haven't played it, the balancing mechanic is so that you have to carry as much as you can. That's suitable for your trips to make, like, the number of trips you need to make. But everything weighs, and until you can get yourself a car or a motorbike, you have it all on Sam's back. And it looks hilarious when you have, like, a ton of stuff that is not that heavy, but there's a lot of them. So you have, like, a tower of things on his head, or on his back, and then you have to constantly balance yourself so you don't trip over and knock all the stuff off your back.
Not to mention, like, I ran to, like, I think there was, like, an overhanging of a cliff, and I was like, can I fit through there? I wonder if the game's gonna let me go through there. Nope, like, it hit the top of my pile of stuff, and it just flew everywhere. I was like, oh dear.
I managed to trip over while I was on, like, going through a really, really horrible path that I had set for myself. So I figured that I'll just go over this mountain. It'll be faster than circling around. And then I got to the top and I ran out of ropes and I ran out of ladders and I ran out of everything. And I managed to trip. And I just watched Sam topple down the hill, and every time he hit the ground, pieces would fly off, and bags would fly everywhere. And eventually, I managed to get down and survive and not die. And I looked up, and the mountainside was riddled with the packages that I was supposed to deliver. It was
like this Hansel and Gretel trail of crumbs, but it was just your packets.
Yeah, it was just the trail of my failures.
Oh dear, man, that's That's incredible.
Yeah, and those were the funnest parts because those were the emergent gameplay.
Right.
That was just you doing your thing, and I always like that most about Kojima's games, where you just try and figure out how can you break the game or how can you mess with the game in some way.
Yeah, there's, back to Metal Gear Solid, there's some amazing videos people have made of like setting up guards to like knock into each other in these crazy domino effects, because you can knock out guards and drag them around and position them in places, and it's one of those things that's kind of incredible that those are PlayStation 1, PlayStation... Well, you can't drag guards in PlayStation 1. It's the PS2 and 3 ones. It's like incredible that those are able to like do some of those effects in them. It's very impressive.
Oh yeah, and ever since you could like stock guards in a cardboard box, and then they would like go like, where did this box come from? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
And ever since that was the thing, it was just the funnest thing to mess around with them.
Yeah, it's incredibly good stuff.
Right. And those were the parts that I think they're, again, goes back to Kojima's a genius designer, that they're there, because it's his playground that he creates. And I wish that he would just allow himself to be removed from that equation and just let the players do. And I think that's why Death Stranding is my number 2, because it allows for long stretches of time for you to just do your own thing.
That's true. Once you hit the chapter 3 that I mentioned, where like it's like, okay, now you've gotten like the basics, now it's a really big open world, I've actually noticed that there isn't a lot of plot all the time. It's mainly just when you talk to the people in the outposts, and they'll just give like not a big backstory. They'll just chat about what they're doing, where they are, and that's like easy to digest.
Right, and then it just becomes a story of you actually trying to connect all the places. So I noticed that I spent tons of time in just trying to build the roads. Like every time I got to a new place, I just started building road to make it easier, because I knew that if I have to come back here, it's going to make it easier for me. It's going to make it for the other players who I don't see.
Right.
And that was, in terms of gameplay, just perfect.
Yeah, kind of same here, because I think I've mentioned when I play open world games, I always like to kind of take the straightest possible route and see what weird stuff I stumble into, but that sometimes leads me in really non-optimal routes, especially in this game. So it feels like good to like kind of set something up there just in case someone else ends up like stumbling over that place. And it's helped me out. Like one of the like happiest stories was when I took a route that left me in a really bad spot because I immediately ran into that timefall, and it was starting to degrade all my stuff, and I had a really long way to go through some hazardous terrain, when someone had just left a motorcycle there, and I was like, oh, sweet, and I actually was able to make it in good time, and I didn't lose my stuff, because that guy had just, he had probably been driving the other way, and I was like, oh god, I can't clear this with my bike, but the idea that, it was there to help out was like, I felt really good about that in the end.
Yeah. So I think that alone, well done, Kojima. You did something that wasn't dumb.
Yeah, well, but we alluded to the problem of the stealth already. It's not great because this isn't really meant to be a combat game, but even the stealth is kind of bad, unfortunately.
And there's a surprising amount of combat for a game that's not meant to be a combat game, because there's roaming bandits.
Yeah, well, normally because I hate fighting them so much, I just tend to, like, sprint my way through as fast as possible. Like, I don't really even bother engaging them.
Right.
I guess I should say there's basically two stealth, is dealing with the BTs, the ghosts, and dealing with the mules. The BTs are interesting because that's the kind of don't draw attention to yourself kind of careful kind of walking on eggshells kind of gameplay.
Right, but then I think it is also knowing, like, there are scenarios where you will have, like, a ton of BTs in one area, and then it starts raining. And then it becomes a question of, you have to get there fast, but you have to get there quietly. And I just, it gets needlessly convoluted.
I guess so. I guess to me it feels like that's one of those, like, well, what do I prioritize in this situation? Like, my stuff's gonna degrade, but if I run it, I'm gonna have to be really careful that this ghost doesn't get me and cause indescribable weird shit to happen.
Right.
But the mules are the human enemies, and I found it so annoying because, first of all, you're in, the world's very open, so there's not a lot of stuff to hide behind.
No.
Like stealth games are all about the level design, honestly. It's so much about using the level to your advantage against your opponents. There's no level design in an open field with, like, a couple of rocks there. So I'm basically getting busted all the time by them. I don't really have very many tools. Once you get the bola gun, I was like, okay, this feels pretty good. But like otherwise, it's just annoying hassle. Like the first couple of times when I tripped my stealth, like almost immediately, I just took out my rope. I was like, okay, let's just lasso everybody who comes my way, rather than try to salvage this situation.
Right.
It does feel like the game is constantly giving you more and more tools in terms of making it easier to travel or like carry more loads, and also tools to deal with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this feeling that the mules are not going to be as much of a problem the deeper you get into the game. I don't know.
There are other things that show up, but they're not much of an issue.
Okay.
With the mules, what I did was that once I realized that, they have trucks, I just started raiding their camps to steal their trucks. Like, I would take 2 or 3 of their trucks and just drive them into a safe place, and just took them from them so I could use them for my trips.
Now that's smart thinking. I was more like panic thinking because I had just gotten my like exoskeleton legs in the game, which give you like a fast sprint.
Right.
And I was like, well, this is not going to be a problem now if these guys spot me. I can outrun them with this getup. And then I hear this honking behind me. I'm like, what the hell is that? Oh my God! The first truck I ever saw. I was like, wait, when do they get these?
Yeah, no, the moment I saw them, I just went, I developed the bola gun and just started, waiting for them to come. But the stealth has reminded me that it did lead to a funny scenario where the diehardman calls and is like, you can try hiding in tall grass. So, of course, I went into tall grass, and I'm like, why did they see me? And I had this huge pack of stuff coming from the tall grass, like a bright orange stack of things, just moving there in the tall grass.
Master of disguise.
Right. And I was really amused that the game had the register that the guys would know that, that's part of the character.
Yeah,
that it's not like in other games where your character box is only your character and everything else is just, might as well not be there.
Exactly, yeah. That is cute. I definitely will admit that. But overall, But on the other hand, what I really appreciate about the stealth and the combat, as finicky as it is, again, like I said, the game kind of discourages that. Yeah, and it's cool because we've talked about in previous episodes. We talked about the nature of violence in video games and the kind of how a lot of video games try to sell you on violence is bad. Mm-hmm. And it's normally just a moral argument that it feels so bad to kill these people and you're a monster, that kind of stuff. Which I don't disagree with that. It's just easily it feels hokey.
But don't make it so fun then.
Yeah. But this one, it's so interesting because this one takes the different tact of killing people is literally bad because it will cause, an explosion.
A nuclear explosion level event that will just wipe out an entire area.
So I think that's a really fascinating, tact to take on the matter. It's practically bad to kill people.
Right, but they've also made it really tough to kill people because that was the first thing I tried to do. because I was told that this is going to have a cataclysmic event and it's going to do something irreversible to the place.
Right.
So my first reaction was that I wanted to see how much I can change this world. And I just found that even though, I took one of those mule guys, I tied him up in a rope, and I took him down to, the top of the mountain and just dropped him off.
I see. Very good.
And he didn't die.
Okay. He must have had really good, cushioning in his uniform.
Yeah, whatever happened there, he just didn't die, and I eventually started running over the guys, and I would just get messages from diehardmen going hey, don't kill them.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Sam, don't do that. Sam.
Right, and it was just one of those, I realized that the game also will heavily guide your hand in that.
Yeah. It's a good message still again, but
oh yeah, and but it is a game mechanic. It's not inherently, because Kojima has made action and killing fun in the past, so he's not opposed to it.
Yeah. Although classically the best score is always gained if you do a non-lethal route in.
It's true.
But again, then the flip side is you don't get to use half of your gear.
Yeah.
There's 20 guns with only 2 are non-lethal, so
Right. I still think the best game ever to have done that is in the Dishonored series, because they make both of them into a mechanic. You have an equally fun and rewarding time playing a violent sociopathic monster, but you cause there to be a ton of chaos, which then leads the world into ruin.
Yeah.
But then if you play with the stealthy guy, you get all kinds of cool gear to play it stealthily, and you get a different kind of reaction.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to do it. That way you are not moralized at any point, and you're given equally cool stuff on both ends to make it worthwhile.
Yeah. I would actually agree with that. Dishonored was super fun.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite game series ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I guess we should be wrapping up soon. So, what do we think about the presentation of Death Stranding?
Oh, that's never been a problem with Kojima. I mean, it looks and sounds beautiful. The soundtrack is great. I like the use of the music that they have in it. I mean, I don't think Kojima has ever made a bad-looking game. Like, even with the PlayStation 1 stuff, he was pushing what that machine could do on, 32 kilobytes of memory.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid is really impressive despite the blank expressionless faces of it.
Right.
It's still wow, that's amazing what it's doing.
Yeah, he has always had great art designers. He has had a great clear vision of what his games look like and sound like.
Now that he has a Ludwig Forsell basically as his call to music guy, that's like a dream team now because he was first on Phantom Pain, which has incredible sound design with all the weird effects in that involving the parasite monsters and stuff. And here it continues again, really, really good sound design from Mr. Forsell and music. And everything.
And I like the the soundtrack choices with the pop songs that he uses. There's a really ethereal kind of mournful quality to all of them, and it's fun to travel the world listening to them. He's got the MP3 player on him.
Yes.
All that is great. I've never had problems with that aspect of it. It's just what he uses that for.
I have a couple of problems with the presentation in this game. For the most part, yes, it's incredible. There's also really good pacing in it. First of all, the kind of how the missions are set up. I had a long stretch in Chapter 3 without any BTs, which made me really relax. Until then, there's you gotta go into this ruined city that's chock full of them. And I thought that was pretty good pacing from have a breather for a few missions and then the super high tense sneaking through ruined section.
Oh yeah, and compared to something again Guns of the Patriots, where I thought the pacing was all over the place.
Yeah.
And with his previous Metal Gear game, the last Metal Gear game that he made, which I can't remember the name
Phantom
of.
Pain.
Phantom Pain. That one also, the pacing was just all over the place. This one works a lot better.
It does. There's cool moments. Another one was when you do you finally do the journey to the next big city. And it's they're Sam, this is going to be your longest trek so far, so prepare well. And it begins with a crueling mountain climb up this rocky hill. And then those BTs show up halfway, which just adds to the stress. Then you get to the top, the rain clears, you have just this opening vista where you can see the city below you. And you just start this leisurely run down the mountain, and that music by Low Roar, I think, starts playing, and it's such a catharsis after that stressful climb to just... There's no threat at that point. You're just chillaxing down the mountain.
And that actually reminds me, that's one of the things that this game does well that I don't think any other game has done well. And I love open world games. I hate the fact that none of them have done anything new in the last decade. They're all the same at this point, and they have mistaken the fact that if you have a lot of knickknacks and trinkets to find, that's somehow content.
Yeah. Checklist gameplay.
Yes, but this one actually has a sensation, and this one actually has a feeling that you're traveling somewhere. It actually, like you mentioned, because going up a hill is a fucking struggle.
Yeah.
And then once you actually see your destination, it actually feels like you've gone somewhere, you've achieved something. And considering what the game is like, it's all the time going back and forth. I didn't get even once the feeling that I wanted to use a fast travel mechanic.
No, I haven't used that either.
Right.
You get that option eventually, and it's to get back to places you've been to already, and you can't cheat with it to move items. It's you leave your cargo behind.
Right.
But I don't want to do that.
No, because they've made the traveling actually feel like something that is worthwhile. It actually feels like you have gone on a journey.
Yeah.
And I don't think any other game has managed to accomplish that, which is something that is great in this. And I wish more games would make me feel the same as this, that when you're told that, hey, you're going from here, which you've known, to another town. That's a long way.
Yeah.
That prepare yourself. And then it's not just a cutscene or something that tells you that, you will see the journey through this kind of unskippable moment. Instead, you have to make it, and it actually feels when you get there that you've done something that nobody else has done in a while.
Yeah. That feeling when that comes, it's very impressive and rewarding. But I do have to say, there's a couple of moments where the kind of you see the kind of frames behind everything, the kind of the props show up.
Yeah.
And the big one is whenever they show your progress on the map of America, it's hilarious how far you jump in a single leg. Because you're supposed to start, you start from Washington, D.C., and you're supposed to go to, I guess, L.A., basically, across the country.
Yeah.
And you'll travel what the game says is a kilometer journey, but then on the America map, you've traveled, like, across Virginia. Like, if you look at the map, it's ridiculous. You hop across states in, like, these single-kilometer jumps.
Yeah, I'm willing to forgive a lot of that, because of course I can't expect them to make that kind of a big one.
No, of course not. It can't be 1-to-1 scale. I get that, but that's like so silly. I wish they didn't show that map to me.
Yeah, it would be more rewarding if they didn't have an actual map, or if it was a scribble that Sam makes himself. It would be even better that way.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I don't. That doesn't really bother me in that sense. I'm more bothered by if they arbitrarily tried to make the map big, just to, make it so that, oh, look at all this space, but then there's actually nothing to do in it.
Yeah, that's a good point. It does a very good balancing of having large open spaces, but it still, like, doesn't feel tiring. Like, it doesn't feel like work.
For a game that is all about fetch quests, it doesn't feel like busy work.
Yeah, that's again, like, the best strength of the game. But there are also some moments where there's not a lot of, because there's a very good system of, like, climbing over objects and stuff, so there's not a lot of impassable terrain. But I did bump into some in the chapter 2, the first major chapter. And it's not even like a mountain range at the edge of the map, the classic, well, you can't travel past here because there's no game past here. There's a mountain range, like, dead center in the middle of the map, and I tried to cut straight through it. I was like, let's try my luck. Mm-hmm. And, like, it's impassable. I had a bunch of ladders. The game's like, you can't put a ladder down here. And I'm like, why? And
yeah, there's still some of those things, and I think it's just because in the beginning there's a lot of things where they're trying to, again, teach you mechanics, and you can't have them taught to you unless you have a trigger point. And it's one of those things that open world games do, and many games do, and I wish that we would grow past it.
Yeah, I mean, would it have been that much work to make that mountain range just climbable? I don't know, but it annoyed me all the same in that situation. After all this, like, you have the freedom to plan your route and everything.
Right. Kojima-san, if you're listening to us, come on. Would it have been that difficult?
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
What do you know about making games?
Yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't really act
watch as he starts tweeting at us. Just like shit posting. And it's like, oh yeah, you two assholes.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see you build a mountain range.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't really talk with any authority, but
right.
There's a lot of mountains you do climb over this, so that's why I'm like, why not these ones?
Right. But other than that, I'd say if you are interested in the game, then go play it.
Yeah. This is a pretty good recommendation from me. It is the kind of game where I feel like I like doing it in doses. I don't think I can play these for long sessions.
No, God, no.
Because again, like, a lot of the missions are very similar, since all you're doing is hauling cargo, but it's got that quality where if I pop into it after, like, not playing it for a few days, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember how this goes. This is super fun, and it's really good stuff.
And then usually because you have done something in it, you come back and there's a lot of reinforcement of like, yeah, you're back, which is always nice. Yeah, and it makes you want to play it a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. It's got a good loop in it, so it's definitely not a game for everyone, but it is surprising how well this game goes for a lot of people who maybe normally wouldn't play this kind of cargo hauling game. So I give this a pretty strong recommend myself.
Oh yeah, I would definitely say give it a try, even if you are like me and you haven't enjoyed the Metal Gear stuff in the past.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. If you're like, I don't like Metal Gear, like, well, don't worry, because there is nothing like that, so it's not going to be a problem on that front. No promises if it's still your cup of tea, but it's certainly the polar opposite.
Right. No refunds from us.
Yeah, yes. Well, we really got to wrap it up here now. I thought, as the last little question, I'm guessing the answer might be nothing, but I thought I'd ask you, what do you think Mr. Kojima should work on next? Like, what would you like to see? What kind of stuff would you like him to do next?
Honestly, I'd love to see a Western from him. Like,
yeah.
Because I thought Red Dead Redemption was another self-indulgent, awful, terrible game that got lost in its own ass. But I would like to see what would happen if Kojima took stuff like that he had learned from this And can you imagine, like, a Western game world travel between towns would actually have the same kind of hardness as this does?
Yeah, interesting. And that would fit in, since that wasn't like easy. Traveling was not easy in the 1800s, so...
Right.
Yeah.
I think what I'm saying is I would like to see him remake Oregon Trail.
Oh my god, wow! You're super right.
That would be it.
This is kind of in that genre of Oregon Trail likes, this game, now that you said it, so
like,
yeah.
Hideo Kojima's Oregon Trail, where, like, every time you stop, people are just, like, coming up to you and explaining to you why life is hard like this, and having long philosophical discussions as you try and balance your caravan.
And you can bump into the Donner Party stuck in the blizzard, but they all turn into Wendigos, and you have to have a huge boss fight against them for, like, maximum awkwardness.
Right.
Oh, actually.
Troy Baker shows up as one of the Donner Party as a villain.
You see, sometimes a man's gotta find meat to eat.
Right. And, yeah, there.
Yeah,
right.
Okay, yeah, I don't even have an answer on my own in mind, so I'm just gonna go with yours. That's really good.
Right, you're welcome, Kojima.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Well, that was a very enjoyable episode, I'd say. I'm also super happy we didn't have a giant fight over this.
No. Why not? Why on earth should we?
I don't know. I guess because I do love the Metal Gear games, so I was like...
I don't hate them. I like giving everybody shit who likes them because it's usually fun to rile them up about it.
Yeah.
But usually I like their design. I just think Kojima would do better if he had somebody to rein him in.
An editor.
Yeah, it's the George Lucas syndrome. He was better when he had people around him to say, hey, just pump the brakes.
This is a bad idea, boss.
Yeah.
I get that. I think I should... We're really going long here, I'm sorry, but I guess I should really say about our show concept, I don't think we're ever going to have too much of a confrontational podcast on here. It's largely due to me, because I'm just a non-confrontational guy. I know you, Jonathan, you don't have any problem giving your opinion, but... I
don't know problem giving my opinion, but I also don't really enjoy confrontation.
Here.
There's no point to them, usually.
Yeah, and myself, like, even if I disagree with a person, I don't feel like going to town on them over it. I know that's kind of... I do have a problem of kind of rolling over for people. I'll certainly admit that I could be a little more headstronger on that front. But generally, I just like to be amicable. Even if a person, has a different opinion than me, I'd just rather hear what they've got to say myself. It's not in my nature to really get too up in someone's face over anything like that. I'll just accept that.
And I'll usually come on strong because I'm confident, usually, with my opinion, because I have so much time to think them over, because that's what I do for a living.
Yes, exactly.
But at the same time, I'm usually more than happy to listen to other people's opinions, simply because that usually makes me have to consider even further why I like something.
Yeah, that's true. You also have to balance your own opinions when you are confronted with an opposite one. So,
right,
yeah.
and it's hard in the beginning. I remember 10 years ago it was really hard. Because you're too immature. You're just like, I know my opinion. Great opinion.
Oh, yeah, and, 10 years ago, I would attach so much of my own self-worth to the things I like that if we were doing this 10 years ago, I would probably get very shouty about something.
Oh, yeah, that's ridiculous stuff. And then, once you get older, you just realize that it doesn't really matter.
Not too much, yeah.
No.
I mean, if we ever have an episode where it's about AI ethics and Jonathan starts going on about, those damn things get what they deserve, then I'll probably start losing my cool, but I can't imagine you ever taking that stance.
No.
I assume you sympathized with the revolutionary droid in Han Solo.
Yes, no, that was one of my favorite characters. L3.
Yeah, L337. Yeah.
No, yeah, that's a whole different topic then. But yes, no. Besides, Han Solo is a fantastic movie, so...
Yeah, well, there's something to rile people up with.
Oh, yeah. No, but most of the time, what we're going to be talking about is stuff that interests us because it's fun. And the internet is already full of angry, shouty shows. So if you want to listen to one of those where people are fighting about something or going like, I can't believe you thought that, then you'll probably find more successful shows.
I guess so, yeah. You're gonna just hear two chill guys on this show, for the most part, I imagine.
It's already two white guys who get to put their opinions online. That's like...
yeah.
As if we don't have enough of those.
Exactly. Also, I can't wait until next episode when we do Horizon Zero Dawn, and it turns out I super hate that game for some reason, and then immediately after this spiel, we just have a big...
Yeah, it's like, friendship over!
Yeah, how dare you!
Yes.
Alloy is my favorite!
Yeah. My waifu.
No!
Yeah.
She is horrible! Also, robots suck. Yeah, I'm never going to take that stance, so that's not going to happen.
It'll just be Minsk and Friend from then on.
Minsk and Assorted Company.
Yes.
Okay, but hey, thanks everybody again for listening to our stupid ramblings. Would you like to plug some of your stuff, Jonathan?
Well, depending on when this is coming out, but you will find on my website there will be a review of Tenet.
Ooh, yes.
Which I saw today. I'm not allowed to talk about it yet, but definitely I will talk about it at length.
Zipping of our mouths.
And as for games, I am now starting Wasteland 3, and hopefully I will soon get my hands on Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, we all have our fingers crossed.
Because that's the one I'm excited about. Other than that, it is pretty quiet right now, but we will be moving into the autumn season.
Yeah.
And once we actually get to that, there will be a ton of games. I was looking at the autumn listings that it's going to be nuts again until Christmas.
Do you think we might tease something we might be working on in autumn involving video games?
I think at least we'll be doing Baldur's Gate, because that's got the co-op.
Yes, I guess that's the tease, is we might be doing something where you guys get to watch both of us again, and it might...
Oh, yeah.
It might be something that isn't pre-recorded, if we can say that much.
I think we can, yeah. We just, once we get the logistics worked out...
We might be giving streaming a go. Yeah, I guess we can drop the bombshell there, so,
Yeah, so if you really don't have anything to do...
Yeah, or if you really want to get immediate feedback to us about our shitty opinions, you'll find us.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that sounds all good stuff coming from you.
Have your poop emojis ready.
Oh boy, I can't wait for it. As for me, oh boy, the three games a week schedule's working out pretty well for me. I'm really happy. I was afraid I couldn't keep it up, but so far it's been all good. We started playing Phoenix Wright recently, and I absolutely love that game. I hope my love shines through, so I would recommend everybody go watch my Let's Play of Phoenix Wright. It's super good stuff.
They're really funny.
Oh, thank you. And, hold on, what's the third game going on at the moment? Oh yeah, I just started Streets of Rage. We talked about it a couple episodes ago. I decided to record a playthrough of myself because I liked Streets of Rage 4 so much. So, also recommend that very much. Tales of Vesperia is wrapping up. Still, the finale is somewhere there. Actually, I can say, since I'm so far ahead, I can promise you guys I have beaten Tales of Vesperia. So people who are like, God damn it, he's still at episode 100 and what, and not done. It will be done. Don't worry, guys. Whoever is wondering how that can keep going on, it won't go on forever. All right. Well then, next time will be sometime.
Deep into the Corona zone.
Sometime, yeah, we'll see how things go. But like we've alluded to several times, there's a lot of current and interesting games still to look at, so I'm sure we will have no problem picking out something to dig into in the near future.
Yep.
So, from me and Jonathan, thank you very much, and see you later!
Laters.